for watching the video. Bienvenidos, confidenciales. We wish we had never had to do this live stream, but the events have forced us to. It was already nighttime in Spain when the earth shook like never before in Venezuela. 2 consecutive earthquakes with little time between them. The first one was 7.2 on the Richter scale. That's extremely high. The magnitude of that earthquake occurred at 6:04 in the afternoon in Venezuela. The second one, just a few seconds later, was 7.5. The second tremor, even stronger, occurred a minute later. The most affected areas were in northern Venezuela. If we locate the epicenters, according to our information, there are 2. One is in the northern area, right in the Moron area. There you would find the first of the epicenters of this earthquake. And knowing the location is just as important as knowing the depth. The first one has a depth, the earthquake, of about 13 kilometers. That is very shallow. In a seismic event, therefore, what has happened can be devastating. It has been. The second most brutal event, the largest one, the 7.5 magnitude, was even more shallow, exactly 10 kilometers deep. And the epicenter was in Yumare in the state of Yakarni, inland, just over an hour and 15 minutes from Moron. Those 2 tremors have especially affected the northern coast of Venezuela, although they have also been felt in Colombia in many places. You are seeing images of how the buildings in La Guaira have ended up. Right now, it's the place with the most destruction. It is estimated that in La Guaira, which you are seeing, about 80% of La Guaira has been destroyed. This is right next to Maiquetía Airport, very close to Caracas by the sea. La Guaira is currently the place where rescuers are searching for the most survivors. Look, in Venezuela, we knew it was a country with a significant earthquake risk, especially where this one happened in the northern strip. But no one warned, nor could anyone predict that something like this was going to happen. It's true, there's a tectonic plate, the Caribbean one and the South American one, that meet right there. And when they move, as they have this time, the state of Carabobo, whose city Moron has also been badly damaged, and the entire coastal area of La Guaira, they're feeling it. The current situation is very confusing. I know it's still early morning. It must be around 4 a.m. or so. Most people have spent the night awake, many sleeping outdoors. Take a look at this scene from the airport. Let's listen to her if possible. Amen.
All right. Bomb her! All right, let's go outside. We have guests. Don't go out there. Brother, no! It's even more dangerous outside! That way. Gentlemen, to gate 4. That way!
Notice how even the slacker's first reaction is not knowing what to do. Nice to meet you. It's the same Maiquetía Airport. People would just stand there until someone told them what to do, where to stand, what position to take. Ladies and gentlemen, for years, it hasn't been clearly explained how to act during an earthquake like this in Venezuela. Look at this man recording. Observe how everything turned out.
Ladies and gentlemen, document our current situation. High magnitude earthquakes. Look at how everything turned out. You can see I recorded during the earthquake. I recorded everything. We also helped get people out. Look at the state of the roof. Everything was destroyed. Everything is ruined. Look. Maiquetía Airport. It's good the authorities are called to protect things here. Just look at this disaster. Look at this mess. Maiquetía by the elevators. Observe, we're all here. So we're going to broadcast from this moment.
Gentlemen, I think the most important thing right now is for an expert to give us advice on what to do. And therefore, we have sought out an expert in risk situations with extensive experience. So that this recording, whether someone watches it later or now, if they're watching live, they know how to act. There are thousands of people right now under the rubble. The first 24 hours are crucial to save lives. We're listening, Antonio. Antonio Garcia is an emergency management technician. Welcome, Antonio, and thank you for helping us. How are you?
Hello, good morning. I'm well, and I'm here at your disposal for whatever you need.
Well, the first hours have passed and the night has been very long. Most people have slept out in the open, while some were looking for shelters. Did they do the right thing by sleeping outdoors? Was it better than staying inside any building?
Of course, yes, we always have to consider the worst possible scenario, and since you don't know from the start how the buildings might be affected, you have to look for a safe place. The best place is, so to speak, out in the open. It's not under a building because you have to assess the level of damage in order to make those buildings safe for people. In fact, you couldn't go back until you wait to see how the aftershocks behave. That could happen, and also an assessment needs to be done. You can't go back until a thorough evaluation of the damage to the buildings is carried out.
That will take time. There are many aftershocks. That's what they're telling us from there, which is normal. Communication is bad. There's chaos. We've seen images of people going back into their houses that were about to collapse just to collect clothes. When is it worth risking your life? And for what? I understand if it's for a human life, but nothing else, right?
I could set the moral or personal judgment that applies to rescuing a family member, okay? And I could apply the most theoretical limit, more objective, which says that what we have to do is safeguard our own safety. Forget about grabbing your belongings. If a possible earthquake is happening, which is obvious if it's happening, and go out to a safe place, which would be the street.
Right. What are the most crucial hours for finding survivors under the rubble?
Well, there's a survival curve that shows obviously the chances of rescuing people alive go down over time. In some cases, like the earthquake in Turkey, people have even been rescued up to the 10th day. There have been rescues of people, but anything beyond 72 hours, the development of logistics organization, the first 72 hours are vital. And if you ask me about survival, speaking from my subjective perspective, as a result of my reasoning, for me, the performance in the first 24 hours is vital. The problem is that the performance during these 24 hours depends almost exclusively on the internal management of the country itself. You can't activate emergency management at the international level with neighboring countries like I think they've started to do in Venezuela. So if we had to establish different times as vital, I wouldn't remove any of them. I would set the 24-hour mark, which is the immediate response, the 72-hour mark, which already sets the limits of survival beyond that, almost none, and from the 5th or 6th day on, which is no longer considered, the chances of survival, unfortunately, are minimal.
Tell me something. What needs to be done now, since in a few hours it will be dawn again there in Venezuela, is to listen. In the rubble, you have to listen and you have to shout. That's how it is. You have to say if there's someone alive, they should be located first by their voice. How do you do that?
It's both easy and complex at the same time. It's easy because the what you have to do is, as you said, is listen, is do. let's say, a kind of search for visible victims, then move on to the search for victims who aren't visible, where we would use human searching, which is listening, and then searching with special equipment. With dogs, which for me is much more, dog searching is much more efficient. Obviously, humans, and then the use of specialized equipment like geophones and so on. What's the problem? That in the first hours, while the emergency is being activated, what we have to do is that peripheral search through human people who can manage it. And it's through listening and establishing areas. Why is it a system that's both easy and difficult at the same time? Easy because it is limited to listening. Difficult is the management and organization of tracked zones, untracked zones, zones where the density of people was higher. In the end, in the management of a catastrophe of this magnitude, any catastrophe, organization, and sectorization are fundamental for the rescue to be successful and efficient.
Yes, yes. Sometimes you have to prioritize an area where there are more people, even if you don't hear screams, over another area where you do hear them, right? You know that whenever this happens, there are never enough hands, and there are many local volunteers who come to help remove rubble. Shouldn't they do it under the orders of someone experienced?
Exactly, of course. I speak favorably about the management of disaster coordination internationally through the systems established by the United Nations. Because from my point of view, they are efficient, and I wouldn't have any problem speaking in their favor. They are very efficient. The problem is the activation, which takes a few days. In these first days, what you always have to do is not act on your own initiative, always act under an organized hierarchy that structures the work. This is to avoid repeating areas, to avoid searching in places where there are no people, and even to avoid areas where there are deceased individuals. And survivors are ruled out because in the area of rescuing survivors, the first 24 hours are vital.
Antonio, let's watch a video that I think is incredible. You are watching it. There are people who have gotten stuck, even families, on very high floors of buildings. They can't go down, the building is badly damaged, there's no staircase, and no one should use the elevator in these circumstances. Yes, the video we're showing. El video, like, it's a new building in a good neighborhood, and yet they're alone. What do we say to these people if they can see us who are isolated, alone, sometimes not knowing what to do in a building that could collapse at any moment?
Absolute calm. Stay completely calm, because when it comes to probabilities, you never really know what could happen. Also, I'm stuck. If I have to establish something, if I have to reach a conclusion, I would need to have some exact parameters, for example, the impact on the building, etc. But under normal circumstances, a building that is affected, if there is no strong aftershock, the highest probability is that the building won't collapse, it won't be further affected. So total peace of mind, because the chances of rescuing a person who is isolated in a part of a building, their chance of being rescued is infinitely higher. For a person who is trapped in a collapsed floor, even if they're not crushed, just a collapse in a basement area, an area that has been left isolated in the upper part, in paradoxically, it's safer than a floor that has collapsed on lower levels. So stay completely calm, everything is going to be fine.
Logically, they've cut off the gas and water, there are no supplies. The first reaction of many people was to get in their cars and leave. In a situation like this, at this hour, what's missing the most? Food, water, electricity. What is it?
The supplies are cut off by default, because obviously in the aftermath of an earthquake, we often associate, when there's an earthquake, a catastrophe, the occurrence of multiple explosions in different sectors of the affected area. This is because the gas and supply pipelines are affected and they need to be cut off, okay? The needs that exist, or I'm not saying hoarded, but the important thing is to have some food or non-perishable supplies, and above all, water. That's the main thing, because water in very high percentages gets contaminated during earthquakes. So for me, that would be the priority. Then we could go into much more detail, okay? Yes, a flashlight. Yes, but water and non-perishable food are most important.
Yeah, well, they were asking for flashlights tonight, and there weren't any. And well, people ask for everything, and there's almost nothing. That's also normal to happen in the first hours, whether it's in Venezuela or in Madrid. The collapse causes that effect, doesn't it?
Yeah, but the thing is, it's not the same when it happens, unfortunately, in an earthquake in Japan, where maybe the structures are better designed for those conditions. Not just because it's an earthquake, but because there's enough purchasing power to build a more resistant type of structure. For example, if an earthquake hits Haiti, I had the chance to visit Haiti after the earthquake, and it's devastating, I think, even 15 years later. If you go to the capital, it's still devastating, and they're still waiting for flashlights. In the end, the efficiency of a society is often limited by many more aspects that we citizens don't control. Many times, citizens are the ones who suffer the consequences of how those in power govern.
Nick, you don't need to tell me it's a fact that they prioritized other things over the safety of the citizens. Antonio, any other advice at this time when not even 24 hours have passed since the earthquake?
The problem is that we can't give a fixed guideline because we still don't know, although the magnitude, from my point of view, is surprisingly high, the magnitude of the earthquake. There will be aftershocks, but we don't know when or how. Okay, for me, the main thing is to stay calm. Try as much as possible within your means to have at least a minimum supply of water and non perishable food. And do not return at all if our home has been badly damaged. Don't go back for belongings, no matter how much you value them. Why? Because if we consider the worst case scenarios, the house could be affected and it would only cause more problems. A major earthquake like this with an extremely high magnitude, I think it was a magnitude of 7.5, which is enormous. Eh, for example, just to give people an idea, the Lorca earthquake had a magnitude of 4.9 or 5, which was much smaller. Even the one in Haiti, which was totally destructive, had a lower magnitude than this one. The key is to stay calm and try to find a safe place. Try to look for safe places in these first days until it's classified as safe. Returning to the homes is a process that unfortunately takes a long time. But what matters most and what is most valuable is each person's life, and that's what we have to protect.
Thank you very much, Antonio Garcia, Emergency Management Specialist. A big hug.
Well, whatever you need, if it's within our reach, we're at your disposal.
Thank you very much. Thanks. Gentlemen, that's how the councils stand. That's the most important thing at this hour. This man was right when he said that the situation in the hospitals, for example, is very complicated.
Not even this thing, man. I'm not sure if anyone is in there.
They're coming.
A shot from the square hit us. Pilaka went down.
They're overwhelmed and they don't know what to do because it's not like they have. No,
They're going to start crying on me.
dude, years without teams. Admiral, dear Admiral Molina, how are you? Thank you for being with us. We will try to contact Admiral Molina as soon as you tell me. Meanwhile, the situation we are receiving, as we said, it's true, the United States government has started to send teams. They say with all the equipment, the teams are going to get there. Admiral, I see you now. How are you? What do you know about your family in Venezuela?
Good morning, Albert, and thank you for this broadcast that will help the Venezuelan people. Well, I'm very upset because in addition to all this tragedy from Chavismo and Maduro's regime for 27 years now, we have these earthquakes, which, as the previous interviewee said, is a very strong earthquake. And to top it off, there were two, one of 7.2 and one of 7.5, practically with only 40 seconds between them. And well, on top of that, the rescue services in Venezuela are practically depleted. They don't have equipment. The hospitals, as we know, in Venezuela have been destroyed by the political side of Maduro's regime. Venezuela was already a collapsed country. Imagine our fellow countrymen in Venezuela now with this earthquake where there are practically no resources. Venezuela hasn't prepared itself, and I have to tell you an anecdote that unfortunately shows exactly that. When I was a security and defense advisor, one happened to me. A commission of scientists from Columbia University who had analyzed the situation in northern Venezuela, because Venezuela, as we know, is located near the Caribbean Fault and the South American Fault. They're right in front of Venezuela. And these scientists told me that the energy stored between these two faults is such that at any moment that energy could be released. And they described a situation just like the one that happened. At that time, I presented a report to the government, to Chavez's government. And of course, they ignored that. I'm talking about the year 2001. Let's imagine now, 25 years later, that Venezuela is even more devastated after the earthquake. Of course, so we're seeing the consequences. All of us in the Venezuelan diaspora stand in solidarity. Groups are already being formed to request aid. Because we know that the conditions in Venezuela are basically with your bare hands and fingernails. And well, thank God that now the United States of America is supporting the Venezuelan people. And I already read that, well, they're going to send aid. Because I repeat, we don't have equipment for these catastrophes. They don't exist in Venezuela. The regime's priorities have been different. The people haven't been the priority. So we Venezuelans are devastated and helpless. That's why, thanks to programs like these, so that supportive countries can send urgent aid. Because as Antonio said in the previous interview, the first 24 hours are crucial, and basically all we have are shovels, picks, and the manpower available in Venezuela.
I have many messages saying that with what Zapatero has stolen here, he could send aid to the Spanish government. We have no evidence of that. The Spanish government often promises action but doesn't follow through, so don't trust them either. The United States seems to have really stepped up, right? That's what they're telling me, Admiral.
Yes, yes. The United States has already stated that the State Department will urgently send aid, technical assistance, and humanitarian aid. And I say thank God that the United States is already helping us return to democracy. Because when the Vargas landslide happened in 99, which was caused by a very strong storm, we don't know how many people died there. The United States immediately prepared two ships, what they call the Navy's Seabees, to help. And Chavez at that time said he didn't want anything to do with the American imperialists and sent that aid back. But the good thing for Venezuela in the midst of this catastrophe is that since Delphi is already under the tutelage of the Trump administration and receives orders from the Trump administration from Sinovac, not saying no to that aid, and this aid will arrive quickly. Probably the fastest is by air, and in the short to medium term, it could be with logistical support ships from the United States Navy to help the population. And we also count on other supportive countries that have experience with earthquakes, such as Peru, Mexico, Chile, etc., who will surely send aid.
No, that's not it. But we have the WhatsApp message that Maria Corina Machado set up for the thousands of Venezuelans who are currently in the streets of Caracas, Vargas, Yaracuy, and Lara. He describes a bunch of cities to accompany those who are living through the terrible anguish of having loved ones missing in their pain. We make an urgent call for solidarity and mobilization from all Venezuelans. We call upon those inside and outside our borders and the international community. We ask you to pay close attention to our social media to know how to channel support effectively. The emergency is critical. The pain is infinite. Every hour counts. May God bless you. Messages like this are appreciated, right?
Totally, totally. And now is when countries, friends are going to show their solidarity with Venezuela. I repeat, Venezuela was already a collapsed country yesterday before the earthquake. And today, with this tragedy, the karma for Venezuelans, the hardships for Venezuelans, unfortunately, are even greater. I've spoken with several people in Venezuela, and the situation is critical. Why? Because even the lack of water, which was already a problem, and the lack of electricity, of course, that has made the situation worse. And well, in the state of La Guaira, which is the coastal area in front of Caracas, the reports I have say that the damage is even worse, right? And since there isn't a census there, like in Spain, a registration process as strict as in Spain, probably for a building that has collapsed, it will take a long time to determine how many people were inside that building, and nobody knows. But it's estimated that the numbers of dead and injured are growing exponentially.
No doubt. Admiral, we just received a tweet from Pedro Sanchez, which is very good, showing support, all the support for the Venezuelan people. Our thoughts are with the victims. I was hoping he would say we're sending all the aid, but he hasn't said that. Look, every hour counts, right? That's how it is. Every minute is important.
Every minute, and that should be right now. Honestly, if I were the president of the Spanish government, the emergency unit would already be on an Airbus. One of those that the Spanish Air Force has, and right away, sending people as if the earthquake had happened in any Spanish region immediately. And I would have already given the instructions to send help. Besides, let's remember that Venezuela and Spain are countries that have very strong ties of friendship, right? Very strong, despite the disastrous government they also have in Spain, right? And that is a friend of the regime that is in transition in Venezuela, the regime of Delcy, the Maduro regime. But this is not a message of solidarity. These are actions. Venezuelans want actions to help us, like Venezuela, when it had democracy. Whenever there was a catastrophe of this kind, it would immediately send all kinds of aid.
I'm receiving messages, some from Venezuela, telling me it's 5 in the morning here. We haven't slept all night. We don't know what to do. We feel isolated. I understand that feeling. Look, chaos is always normal in circumstances like this, but it comes at a time when I think, Admiral, if it weren't for the intervention of the United States, this would be worse for the Venezuelan people. We agree.
That's right. Venezuela was already in chaos. What this earthquake does is turn it into chaos squared. Venezuela is a helpless country. Like I said, the hospitals, where are we going to treat all those seriously injured and the minor injuries? If the hospitals don't have resources in a public hospital, when someone has to be admitted, a patient, they even ask for sheets, they ask for medical supplies, they give you a list of what you have to buy. Even in the Caracas Military Hospital, which is a hospital, well, it used to be an elite hospital. A colleague, a Navy captain who had a stroke, was taken there, and they told him, in order to operate on you, you have to come up with $8,000 to buy the supplies. I mean, these are real life stories. It's a collapsed country, and unfortunately, after the Chavista Madurista curse, now this earthquake hits us too, right? But it's a collapsed country, now collapsed squared. And I agree, Albert. Thank God we have our eternal allies who have been the United States of America, except during the Chavismo era, and now they are with us. And I know about the United States' solidarity with us in our disasters. And President Trump himself already announced and gave the order to immediately support Venezuela with everything possible. Thank you.
I don't want to make political statements. I think today is still not the day. We have just enough time to help. A message told me, and it's true, you're broadcasting a lot of images, but in all of them, the place looks empty. You don't see the technical teams there. You don't see a legion of helmets with firefighters, the army. It's just impossible. Besides, these are images that are coming to us little by little. In fact, he did have his social networks like X cut off, right? Restricted. Not just anyone could post whatever they wanted on social media.
Well, we say it again, the resources for firefighters and rescue teams in Venezuela are depleted because the Chavista Madurista people have stolen all the money. These poor people who work in the fire departments and rescue groups are practically working with nothing but their bare hands. There is no equipment. Besides, the magnitude of this earthquake means that even if the rescue teams and firefighters had efficient systems, it wouldn't be enough. That's why the help needs to arrive immediately, as soon as possible. Planes from friendly countries should already be in the air, with rescue teams, field medical teams, field hospitals, and medical supplies, etc., because this is going to keep increasing. And let's remember that Venezuela, Caracas, is at 10 degrees north latitude. So we're practically in the hot months in Venezuela. And this, of course, with the injured and the bodies that are under that rubble, it can cause such severe contamination that it could lead to an epidemic, right? And with the lack of water, etc. So the help has to come now, as I said. That's why I'm surprised that the Kingdom of Spain doesn't already have 2 or 3 planes there in flight with all kinds of rescue equipment, health supplies, field medicine, etc., flying to Venezuela to help. There's nothing to think about here. This is an immediate executive order and helping a country, a brother country, a Hispanic country, well, where we have many, many things that unite us, right?
No doubt. Admiral, we will talk in the coming days because I want you to expand on what you said about presenting an emergency plan that Hugo Chavez put away in a drawer 20 years ago. And if that plan had been followed today, thousands of Venezuelans might have been able to save their lives. We'll talk in the next few hours more calmly. A big hug, Admiral. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, and thank you very much to Albert for transmitting. And we have to keep sending the message of solidarity with Venezuela and asking for help. Venezuela needs a lot of help right now. Thank you very much, Albert, and we'll stay in touch.
A big hug. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the information we are receiving and that we continue to share with you live. And I'm also told that the information coming from Venezuela is very unreliable. Why is that? Well, because the journalists, most of the press, radio, and television outlets in Venezuela are part of the regime. They're Chavistas. So you can't trust most of what they're saying. There's no guarantee that the information they're giving is accurate. Look, when we first heard about the first and second earthquakes, my thoughts immediately went to the political prisoners who are still in Venezuela's jails. Where are they? What's the situation in Rodeo Prison, in Helicoide, in Ramo Verde? What's happening to them? With people who can't escape because they're locked up in a cell. A guest will tell us about it right now. Our thoughts are also with the Venezuelan political prisoners. Many of them, most of them military, are still in prison. What is the state of the prisons in Venezuela? What condition are they in? Have there been any collapses? Look, there's a woman, her name is Veronica Noya. She has her husband, Captain Antonio Sequeira, and unfortunately, her brother is also in a bad situation. Veronica, how are you?
Albert, how are you? Well, it's been a long night, a long early morning for all the families of political prisoners in Venezuela. Communications after the terrible earthquake and the situation happening in Venezuela have been interrupted. And we don't have completely accurate information about how my husband, Captain Antonio Sequeira, and my brother, Fernando Noya, are doing since both of them are in Rodeo 1.
There is no information from Rodeo 1. I suppose you've called 20 times, and some relatives have even shown up there. No? Can't you see the condition of the building?
Let's remember, Albert, that since January, the families of our political prisoners have been spending the night outside Rodeo 1. There's a camp there where sisters, wives, and mothers spend 24 hours a day waiting for our prisoners to be released. They are there right now without electricity. However, as much as possible, power has been restored for a few hours at a time. We've been informed by communications that fortunately, in the midst of this disaster and the lack of electricity in Rodeo 1, well, they heard that they have been taken out to the yard and are being kept safe in a yard in the prison.
Hopefully, that's the case, that your husband, your brother, and the rest are in good condition. They tell me there are prisons that are worse. What do you know about other prisons?
Yes, well, the information I have is that the one that seems to have been most affected is Ramo Verde, where many military political prisoners are held. Apparently, there was some collapse, but like I said, Albert, with communications being interrupted, we families have very little information. It's been really hard. Some people have actually gone to the detention centers where they are to check how are the structures and how are they doing. I think this is an important moment to make an appeal so that we can get accurate information about how each and every one of the political prisoners, both civilians and military, are doing in Venezuela.
They told us that in Ramo Verde, the four-story building collapsed, but not completely, only in sections. And that the usual thing has been to take the prisoners out to the yard. But is that what they call the court? But how do they not open the prisons in a situation like this? I can't understand it. How do they not get them out of there?
Yes, that's why I'm telling you this is the moment, it's the right time, it's the time to show humanity, isn't it? Yeah, we've already been victims of constant human rights violations. So I think it's totally unfair, totally inhumane that they have the political prisoners locked up in conditions where they're not being cared for, where they're kept uninformed. Because let's remember that in Rodeo 1, they are totally cut off from communication. Now, without electricity, we don't know if they have water, if they're going to have food. So it's time to raise our voices and make an appeal. From here, from this platform that you are giving me and this opportunity, Albert, I also want to make a call to the government of Spain to remind them that there is a Spanish Venezuelan citizen in Rodeo 1 who is my brother, Fernando Noya. He has been there for 2 years and 2 months, and I still haven't received any response from the consulate or the embassy. They haven't been able to see him, they haven't been able to visit him. I think this is an important and crucial moment. A tragedy is happening in Venezuela. I think it's time for them to focus on seeing, on checking the state of health they're in, the conditions they're in, and not just him, but all the detained military and civilians who are in Rodeo 1, in Yare, in Tocoron, in Fuerte, Guaycaipuro. There are many centers, penitentiary centers, where there are political prisoners, both civilians and military, and we, their families, need to verify their health status, their conditions, and beyond that, for the doors to be opened for everyone. It's a critical situation. It's a situation that I'm sure they won't know how to handle. So far, we have no communication, no information, and we need the doors to be opened for all of them right away.
Let's see if we can do it, even if it's just out of humanity. Besides, I'm sure the jailers have left to check on their families, so they're locked up and alone. That's inhumane. Let's see if we can do it. Veronica, let us know if there's any news, and a big hug. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much, Albert, for this opportunity.
Hugs. Gentlemen, this is the latest news about the Venezuelan prisoners. With a lack of information, as you have seen in Rodeo 1 in Ramo Verde collapse, but prisoners are in the yards. What's going to happen? What's the latest update? Well, maybe Mario de Nigris, my dear friend, can tell us. How are you, Mario?
Greetings to Albert. Well, I'm very sad, shocked by what's happening in our country. I'm here. God bless you greatly. Thank you for this opportunity for helping Venezuelans. I truly make a call to the entire international community, to Italy, to Mexico, Peru, Chile, because Venezuela is going through a huge crisis right now. We were already going through a big crisis, and now it's getting worse with these two earthquakes. The epicenters, one in Moron, Falcon State, and the other in Arapuí State, where Vargas State, now called La Guaira, has been affected, totally devastated. And the problem we have in Venezuela, as Commander Rear Admiral Molina Tamayo said, is that we don't have civil defense with firefighting equipment. Unfortunately, that's always been the case for 26 years. There's neglect and hospitals aren't properly supplied. It's really very sad. I have information from Ramo Verde that some floors collapsed in succession, some detainees, there are some injured, waiting for information and confirmation. I'm in contact with my brothers in Vargas State, and they tell me it's a total disaster. This is the second time Vargas has suffered, but this time it seems like it was much worse. Entire houses were destroyed, some municipalities disappeared, and there are many missing people. And right now we need help, technical help, especially because of what Rear Admiral Molina Tamayo was saying, since we don't have the proper equipment, just shovels and pickaxes. But we don't have that technology. What Rear Admiral Molina Tamayo was saying is also very important. These are the crucial hours to rescue our brothers who are trapped. We are calling for them to give us water, drinking water, which is necessary right now because the country, unfortunately, our country has been in collapse for many years. In the social security system, in the public service systems, water. There is no electricity in many states, which is logical for them to cut it off, and the gas, so there are no explosions. But right now, the solidarity of all countries is necessary so they can help us, so this catastrophe doesn't get worse. So what is happening doesn't get worse. Eduardo, very unfortunate. Hopefully they free all political prisoners before they die there. Because as you saw, as I just said, the prison guards went to check on their families. They ran out to see how their families are, and the prisoners are left there alone, adrift, locked up, without food, without anything to eat. The truth is, this is distressing. I also call on the whole world to make a donation for Venezuela, for us to show solidarity. And I make a call to Aisha Rodriguez, who is currently in charge, to please open the doors and ask for international help. It's necessary to save lives right now at this moment. These are the most crucial hours because every minute that passes, and they're telling me right now, also, I want to inform you that there are strong aftershocks. In Caracas, in Viralda, and part of Los Teques. I was just informed right now. I am a rescuer. I am going to put myself at the service of my country. I will try to speak with the consulate.
We are witnessing an especially moving scene, the rescue of two kids.
2 children.
3, to be precise, are being pulled out from under the rubble.
Are you siblings? Yes, there are 3 of us.
Come out, come out.
What kind of questions are those, brother? Stay there.
Stay there in the shade. Stay there. Stay there.
You guys have no problems over there. You're good, thank God. My God.
It must be all alone.
Sell yourself.
With the sister,
My Lord, you are merciful.
a miracle that is in my life.
You, son, are here as well. Thank you. We're going down little by little and we're getting them out.
And the help is arriving.
Children, we have to have faith. Look, here we have these survivors, these children. Look, from God. God, you are great.
There are many praying, right, Mario? Many, so many.
Seeing those images, I'm sure it's guilt. Those images really break me. As a Venezuelan, I feel my fellow Venezuelans' pain. We must stay strong in times like these. I call on all my Venezuelan brothers to join together in volunteering to help rescue our brothers. I'm very sorry for what is happening to me. Right now, I'm going to try to get in touch so I can travel to my country and offer my help. I am a rescuer. After many years, I was in rescue groups to support my Venezuelan brothers. And I'm making a call to the whole world, taking advantage of your platform so that everyone can show solidarity in these difficult times, because all our hospitals are overwhelmed. We need them to provide field hospitals since our hospitals lack supplies. As I mentioned, total contamination won't peak until May. The military hospital asks for money to buy supplies because hospitals have none. That's the reality. And I'm afraid this crisis will spread. If we don't have national housing, it's going to be a catastrophe. Honestly, some highlighted forecasts, because the truth is that our country's healthcare system is totally collapsed, and you know it because of thousands of complaints.
They have stolen everything they could for 27 years, and not just them. Spain, Zapatero, Sanchez, many countries, Brazil, Colombia. There are many people here who have looted Venezuela. Have you ever heard of an evacuation plan, of an emergency system for cases like this in northern Venezuela, which we've already said is exaggerated? Danger zone, highly likely for this to happen. Did you ever see one, or did anyone ever tell you about one, for example, in La Guaira?
No, there were some people who brought up that situation, but the government ignored it. They acted like in that Shakira song, blind, deaf, and mute. They never cared. They were never interested, which is why we see major consequences. Because Vargas doesn't have a public security system today, much less for disasters like this. And I'm afraid that this will get worse because of the lack of cohesion from the government with these emergency and natural disaster mechanisms. They never made a plan. They never wanted to listen. Never. The consequences will be seen immediately. Thankfully, the United States government is helping Venezuela, which could do much in this situation.
A message that this friend Marlene is sending. She says, Delcy, you could ask for help from Cuba, Turkey, Brazil, and China, who have taken a lot of advantage of Venezuela. Where are those countries now, right? They should be helping out. Don't you think so?
Of course, they should be helping out right now. Right now, all the planes from the international community should be landing, supporting them, because otherwise it's going to be very difficult in these tragic hours for Venezuelans to get through this. All the countries that took advantage of Venezuela, all those socialist countries that took advantage of Venezuela should be supporting Venezuela right now. Also,
not anymore. Did you ever tell me you participated in civil support actions?
Yes, I was a rescuer in Venezuela. Yes, I participated in.
I'm asking you what should be done. What do you recommend? Because there are entire neighborhoods. We're seeing how they rescue animals. I know you might say, with all the people that must be down there, look, any living being deserves this, a drink of water to have their life saved. This creature surely made a family happy, and who knows if they're still alive. So we have to give this animal another chance. But what do we say to those who are in buildings in the rubble if they haven't seen a single firefighter in almost 24 hours, which will be completed in another 8 or 10 hours, that they should organize themselves? How do they do that? It's just that
if there's no neighborhood, they have to organize themselves. I remember that we worked in the emergency in Vargas. We worked in the Vargas neighborhood emergency. We worked with the people of Barco. We found dogs, buried people who were screaming, the dogs who sniffed them out, above all, having water and patience. In these situations, you have to be very calm and patient. I know it's difficult because you get desperate when you don't see anyone coming to help. That's why it's so important. Help must come immediately. There are people, someone told me that some have suffered heart attacks from the shock, people who have fainted, people who have had nervous breakdowns. So we need to have a little patience, stay calm, and call on all our Venezuelan brothers and volunteer rescuers, because I know there are many, in Vargas, there are many brothers who are rescuers. Organize yourselves so you can help with the rescue. I see that they are already rescuing children. It's important for the community to come together and get involved so that we can also help the rescuers, especially by getting water. Drinking water is the most important thing right now. Drinking water and non-perishable food, especially to support the rescuers who are at the site. Cookies, but water, a lot of water is needed. A lot of water, a lot of patience, a lot of prayers for Venezuela.
Send hugs to your people in La Guaira and all over Venezuela. A big hug. Thank you for your help. Take care. Take care.
Thank you, Albert. God bless you and my beloved Venezuelan brothers and sisters. We're all going to get through this. Venezuela always rises from the ashes, and we will unite as brothers to rescue our country. Thank you, Albert, for being there. God bless you and your entire wonderful audience.
Ladies and gentlemen, Venezuela needs to be rebuilt, and for that, first there must be the rescue of survivors. We are at the crucial moment when everyone must act and act quickly. Some cameras captured the moment the earthquake struck. They were watching the World Cup. It was 6 in the evening and a few minutes passed. Let there be more.
More
I don't know.
loud.
The wood is falling down in this shit. Shit, we'll be back.
How is the TV moving? It's about to fall. Notice how long it lasts. It doesn't stop.
45 seconds, things got broken, Amreli. Shit.
This was the first earthquake. Shit. A minute later, the second one happened, which was even greater than 7.5. It's brutal. You don't leave your house if you still have one, right? Even if everything collapses. Look at the area it affected. The epicenters, as we mentioned, were in the northern area, very close to Moron, not far from La Guaira, in the area where the tectonic plates meet the Caribbean plate. That's where these things always happen. The situation is unfolding in Venezuela, and you can imagine what a tough morning it is after spending the night outdoors. That's how Venezuelans have slept, out on the streets. No one wanted to go back into a building. This is Caracas.
We are at La Candelaria Square, Rafael Urdaneta Square, where hundreds, if not thousands of people, residents from downtown Caracas, are taking shelter, waiting for an assessment of the structural damage to their homes. It was a very difficult situation. So far, there has been no official statement regarding shelters, which is very important. There was a statement from Elsie Rodriguez, quite brief, without any official figures. But what we can report from the north side of Caracas is that it's a very difficult situation in downtown Caracas. There was structural damage in many homes. In many of these homes, sewage pipes and water pipes broke. The structures are really damaged and are compromised. And it's a very, very difficult situation. But what we can see from the neighbors is tremendous solidarity, showing the high level of solidarity among the people of Caracas. We are here with the neighbors from La Candelaria, from San Bernardino. Many have come down because the damage in San Bernardino was very, very severe, just like in areas of El Paraíso or San Martin. It's also important to report on the situation at the Church of La Candelaria. They were in the middle of Mass when the earthquake happened and the cross of La Candelaria fell, and there was very, very severe damage to our beloved Church of La Candelaria. But it's important to point out the solidarity and unity shown by the neighbors. You can even see here the rubble from the Church of La Candelaria. Look, here you can see the important thing is to stay in communication and not fall for fake news. And above all, the unity among neighbors in such a difficult situation of the strongest earthquake in the history of Venezuela.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the current situation. Look, there are buildings like this tower, which used to be a magnificent hotel, that have been completely destroyed. This is in La Guaira. The situation is still confusing. Afterwards, this hotel you see, this one you see, ended up like this. Take a look at the video now.
There are even a bunch of golden earthquakes. This is the secret hotel.
We just saw this there. That hotel, gentlemen, is this one. And there's absolutely nothing left. The force of these tremors is brutal, and no one could have predicted it. Sometimes there are institutions, seismological centers, places that help predict when it's going to happen, hours in advance. They do this in Japan. Here, everything is much more complicated, much more difficult. The buildings are still about to collapse sometimes. There's a lot of dust all over Caracas. No one feels safe going back home because they know anything can happen. And this, which is the Maiquetía airport, makes things even more complicated because that airport, the runway, has also been damaged due to the seismic activity. It's a complicated situation. This friend told me if they want help, let them ask for it. Yes, that's possible. This is a recording made from a fishing boat. Take a look.
Shit, over there in Maiquetía. Look, over there in the Caribbean. It just shook right now, folks, in San Juan.
Brutal. Look at how the ground they're standing on is moving. There are many friends asking us how to help. Look, for that, you have to be cautious. Don't start sending money to bank accounts that we don't control. Be careful because during the earthquake in Mexico, I helped, and then not even a tenth of it reached Mexico. I mean, about money, I know right now you want to help, but don't do it, not with us or with anyone. The time to give money will come. Right now, what's needed is water, food, and helping hands. Lots of helping hands. Above all, professional teams should organize the citizens and listen to us until they arrive. But there should always be someone with knowledge to prevent bigger problems. And we've been here for over an hour and we've advised them not to go into their homes to collect belongings. Yes, living beings. Yes, people. Logically, many are being rescued. We're showing a part of the story here, but there are many rescues that have a happy ending, and in the end, lives are saved, which is the goal. But if this earthquake has shown anything, it's that tyrants kill. Corruption kills. The lack of attention to the citizens and the people for 27 years kills. And this, in part, is not a natural act, an unprecedented act of nature that cannot be avoided. No, no. This is the result of 27 years of negligence during which things were built anyway just to take the money. There were no emergency plans, even though Admiral Molina Tamayo and others presented them, and nobody paid attention except to gold, oil, and money. The result is what you see. Men, women, and children dead under the rubble without the protection they should have had in such a seismically dangerous area. Friends, we're going to end the broadcast here. I know we could be here all day. Now, the important thing is a message that the security expert gave us. Staying calm. I know it's difficult, but in this situation, you have to act with a cool head, trying to make sure no one manipulates what's happening, that no one does or commits a crime. Taking advantage of the situation with looting, that can happen. We have to act calmly, trying to save lives. The first 24 hours are incredibly important, but the first 3 days are important too. Get ready because tomorrow we'll continue with our regular program at 7 in the morning in Spain and at whatever time you watch us in Venezuela. You know that our hearts are with you, and whatever you need, we'll do it. We'll move heaven and earth so you have it. And that someday we'll finally be able to talk about Venezuela without talking about thieves, tyrants, narco terrorists, or shameless people. Many Spaniards, and we'll be able to see a free Venezuela rebuilt. We're closer to that than ever before. We just need to give one last push and get over this hurdle. Who knows? Maybe this earthquake will also take away Diosdado Delcy and the savage tyrants who are there. Friends, thank you for this broadcast. A big kiss to all of you. See you.